Hey guys! Sorry, I'm moving the screen because the minute I pushed live, it told me that I had to rotate my device to see the live image. So, excuse me for the moving. But here we are. I'll be starting in a few minutes. It's gonna get warmed up. It's freezing out here. I got a temporary setup and it's just 13 degrees. So I'm just gonna warm up a little bit, get my stuff, and we're going to create some lips here. There. Meanwhile, just let me know how you guys are doing. And thank you for joining me this night. I'm very excited to start this project here together with you. And if you have questions, just drop them in the comments. I have prepared my sketch. If you don't know how to draw, you can use red graphite paper. For example, this here. And I will put some links after this session on where you can buy this stuff. Usually I get all my stuff from foxystudio.com, and he also got this graphite paper. Furthermore, I have protected my highlights. I have left a few here so I can show you, but just to save some time, I've prepared a lot of these things already. And yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna gather my stuff, and the minute I get everything, I'll be here in like 2-3 minutes while you guys are collecting. So I have selected some paints, some tools. Most of it will be done freehand, but we also have hard edges, and for that we do need some tools. So let me just get those. I'm working in a temporary setup, so I can't really find all my tools yet, like a knife. I can't even find a knife, but we'll figure something out. I got scissors though. I thought I had everything, but okay. Okay guys, I think I have pretty much everything. For this project, I have some mixing cups. I'm going to show you how to mix the color. We have our main color is red. It's a very funny project. Unfortunately, this screen won't let me share the horizontal mode, so I cannot show the reference and the painting simultaneously, but I can sort of place it here and try to squeeze it into the camera. So let me see what I can do. So you can see at least half of it, and if you'd like to do the project, I'll be posting the reference on my Patreon website, so you can download it there for free. And meanwhile, I will stick this to my board. I'm working on a little panel. This is called Clayboard. It's very smooth. It can resist scratching, erasing. It's easy to clean. It's really nice to work on, and you can get it mostly in art shops worldwide. So I think this is pretty cool. The problem is that this is on a cradle board, so it has some wood behind. It doesn't need a frame. It's pretty convenient, but as you can see, this is now a little bit how you call that? It needs a cradle as well. So I'm just gonna find something to support the reference so it doesn't always go up and down when I airbrush, because the air will move it. So let me just quickly grab some stuff and put it behind. The water box will do. It's about the same size if I take out the packing. Just to support my references, I noticed that I couldn't see it on this screen. I had to turn the screen vertically instead of horizontally, so that was required for the live mode. So I'm just going to put the support behind my reference to make it the same height. There we go. So it doesn't go up and down. Stay there while I'm spraying. Now we got another challenge, and that is to sort of support the thing. Let's see what I can do. I think it's hanging. And some tape can do miracles. Let me just tape it. Oh goodness, sorry guys. It's live, so that's what you get for going live, I guess. And as I never have time, I didn't really have time to prepare this either. Well, I had to go and find the location to do this. So here we are, guys. I got internet, I got reference printed, and I got it transferred on my clayboard. This is a little clayboard with a cradle, so I had to kind of make it equal on height. This way my reference doesn't go up and down when I give the air with my airbrush. I did want this as close as possible in view. This way you can't really see the reference simultaneously with my painting, but I can twist it a little bit more maybe. Let me just try. Sorry, I'm gonna move the screen a little bit. Well, this is as close as I can get with both of them in the middle. Okay guys, so we have a background. The background color is red, and to match the color with red, it's best, because red is a primary color, it is always best that you find a red that comes close. So I have just 3 or 4 reds with me, and a magenta, which is quite cold. This is really a warm red, so magenta would not be the best. Crimson is a very cold dark red as well, but you can use this for the shades, which are always colder and darker. But this here comes way closer to the main color. It's a little bit darker, as you can see. This is the dried up paint, so don't look at the label, but look at the paint that is dried up. And we can see that this one comes really close. It's almost a match. So you can sort of mix these together and add some burnt sienna if you need it a bit more natural and less like pop arty. Or you can add a complementary color, which would be a green blue, to kind of tone it down and neutralize color a bit if it is too intense red. But let's see what these two together give in order to create the background color. I'm not going to add white because white turns red into pink. If you do need a light red that is opaque, you can add a drop of yellow, as yellow will turn it back into a light red again. But you can also look at the labels and read the opacity rating. This one is semi-transparent and this one is almost opaque. So this is perfect as a base. It doesn't require white to be opaque. And you can also see it on the dried up paint on the tip of the twist cap. So that sort of will tell you if the paint dries up really dark, nearly black, it's super transparent. And if the paint's drying up like quite light and very intense, it is more opaque. Okay, it can be fully opaque or semi-opaque. And even in a fully opaque color, they also have different gradations of being opaque or transparent. So you can always test it on a black sheet. If you see that it lightens up the black a lot, it is very, very opaque. That means anything you paint with it will cover all the things that are underneath, including information, sketches, etc. For a background, we do need some sort of an opaque color, but the minute we see texture and details, in this case in the foreground, we need to tone it down a little bit and add the water to it. Otherwise you're going to lose all the information, and it's really hard to add all this out of focus information on a fully opaque background. So I'm going to show you opaque and not so opaque. First we need to mix the color. Like I said, red, try to come close with the reds that you have. That will save you a lot of trouble mixing it, because adding white is never a really great idea. If you need a light red, you do need to add some yellow or orange to warm it back up and not make it look pink or salmony. Here is my little mixing cup, and always shake the color because the pigments, they sink down to the bottom and then it separates with the binder. So the best way to shake a bottle is not shake it, but tap it on the butt. This way you will tap the pigments upwards without killing the molecules and without creating a lot of foam and a lot of you know, like the volcano effect when you open the cap. A lot of pressure. Just gonna tap it away from the microphone. And then you open it. This paint is quite thick. It's Holbein inks, acrylic inks, so sometimes it's dried up and you use your nails to kind of peel it open. And it's just a twist cup. I see some of my students, that was a little splatter, I see them removing the whole cap and then the paint just spills from everywhere. So only twist the cap. It's a twist cap. Okay, It's made to drop. And if you need one drop, you hold it really just upside down and it comes out one by one. And if you need a good amount, you squeeze it horizontal and you hold it a little bit diagonal, and then this way you can squeeze it. So it's made for drops, or give it a good squeeze and then just hold the bottle a bit more diagonal. It's a huge difference. Always close it so your paint stays fresh. And this will be my main color, so I squeezed in a good amount. All right, this is about 2 ml in a little mixing cup. This will be good for my base, and it's a bit too intense, a little bit too light. We're gonna tone it down a little bit with some burnt sienna. We use Aqua Drop, as this will help to make this paint flow a bit better. Aqua Drops is really water soluble. You can mix them perfectly fine. They are both water based. One is an acrylic ink and the other one is a fluid watercolor. I'm just going to add a little bit to increase the or decrease the intensity and decrease the value. I'm going to make it darker and less red. You can just push a little bit of the paint over the reference. Oh, you cannot see it from there, but oh yes, you can. Or you can place it on the side and see if it blends. It's quite close, and I want it a bit less warm. I'm going to mix a bit of this naphtha wrap dip. If you have magenta, you can use that, or if you have crimson, you can use that too. Just remember to shake the color, tap it on the butt. Open it away from the painting and just add it sparingly. You don't want to add a lot because you don't want to change the color a lot. You just want to adjust the color a little bit. So the dominant color is always more, and the mixing color is just a little bit. It's like adding pepper and salt. So if you don't want to ruin your dish, don't throw on too much salt. So I'm just going to check what this gives me, and then I can always see if it's too intense. Then I add a bit of the complementary color. If I want it more orangey, I can add some burnt sienna, and if I want it colder red, I can add some of the naphtha red deep, or the crimson, or the magenta. It does look pretty close. I can do a little test and see what comes out when I airbrush it, as that is always slightly different. Just gonna pour some of the paint in my cup. Don't use too much, as you're gonna spill a lot of your paint. It is sufficient to throw it in your airbrush and then just throw everything back. Whatever stays in is enough to make the test. You can do the test on a little white paper or a gray paper. And if you're working with a dark background, you can use it on a black paper. Just use something neutral. This way you can really see the color that you need. I'll spray it on this white paper. And I will do it a bit aside of the painting. I don't know if you can see it a bit here. If the color is really thick, you need some more pressure. This is not very thick. There's no white in it. The colors spray quite easily, so you don't need too much pressure. And you can also put it on the side of the paper. This way you can place it against the reference. Just give it a good amount of paint, let it dry, and then give it some more layers. This way you can see how far the paint can build up towards its full intensity or capacity. Make sure that when you test the paint that it's dry, because wet paint is always less accurate and darker. So you just need to let it dry a little bit. Just press it flat. You can use a little isolation window or just look and squint between your fingers. It's slightly too intense, and I'm going to decrease it, or decrease the intensity, with a little bit of a blue-green. Just don't add too much. Again, like pepper and salt. I will use some phthalo green, just very, very little. Half a drop is safe. You can also do 1 drop if you have a lot of paint. I'll just use half a drop, and I can always add more. But sometimes if the color that you're using is super dark, usually the cold colors like blue, green, violets, they are also really, really strong. They can really tone it down a lot very easily. So let's see what we have now with just 1 drop of green. I'm going to spray out the old color. You don't want to see it with the previous color inside. That's going to give you a false match. And you also don't need it like 100%. If you're happy with the color, that's fine. A print can be slightly different tomorrow and yesterday, or the way your printer sees the color and your phone sees the color, they are also different. But if you're really close, you can just go along, and in the end you can make it as matchy as you want with transparent glazes, which hopefully I can show you today as well, and otherwise in the next episode. So this is the color, the same color but with a half a drop of green. It changed a lot. Let me just give it a bit more paint, let it dry. You can see how strong that green is. It really darkened it a little bit and it toned it down, so it made it more neutral, less intense red. So let it dry. And like I said, you can use an isolation window, just cut a paper open, make some holes in it, and then you can place it over your sample. I'm just going to do it like this. And I think we're really close. It's a little bit darker, but that's fine because I can just keep it lighter like this by spraying less paint. Okay, less layers. So I don't want to add white because it's going to turn it into pink. Then I have to add yellow, etc., etc. I will just control myself and use the amount of layers until I see I reach the right value. I'm going to protect the lips with a black and white copy in the same size. Be careful you don't rub off the liquid mask that I've used to protect my highlights. So you don't want to move around this stuff. The best thing is to cut some holes and put some tape on it, but if I put the tape on it, it will remove the frisket underneath. So I'm just going to hold it really soft and gently. And also, I don't need a super sharp edge, as the edge of this lip is quite soft. It's defined, but it's still soft. It's natural. It doesn't really look like a sticker. So I'm just going to place it somewhere safe below, where I do not see any of my blue liquid mask. And it can flap up and down a little bit. It's okay. It will give me a more natural edge. Some people put like a thick thing behind, like a thick tape, and provide softer edges, but that's not really needed. You can just let it go a bit. Okay guys, we're gonna start in the corner. Never start around the center of the reference. It's gonna create hard edges, and if something is wrong, you're gonna see that immediately. Just start in a corner where it's safe to start. Also, you see that I've stuck some tape in there. That's gonna give me a strange edge. And remember, there's liquid mask underneath, so do not move the reference while you're painting. Build up gradually. I did not add any water in my paint. I want it kind of opaque. Let it dry and come back to fill up the layers more. We need to stop at the foreground, so you can see there's like how would you say that? This is the foreground, almost like an horizon, where it becomes water with reflections and it's separated from the background, even though it's a similar color. We kind of need to stop right there. So I'm gonna mark it. This way I cannot go too far down. It will remind me. You can see that I'm just moving up and down really gently, and I'm not following the lip, as I do not want to create an outline. I want to have a background. I don't want an outline around my lips. So all you need to do is move up and down and protect the lip. I will gently move up. I can see where the highlights are because the reference has highlights as well. That means where I see highlights, I have liquid mask, so I don't put my finger anywhere there. Now let's do this a little bit faster. And try to keep an equal distance and give an equal amount of paint with each pass of each layer. You can go horizontal and vertical as long as you don't follow the lip. Do not create an outline. And do not go closer. This will prevent ugly dots and stains. I'm just going to refill my airbrush. trying to hold the airbrush, the reference, and do it all with one hand. It's smarter if you would just fill your cup a little bit more from the start. Also, if you feel the paint is not coming out immediately, it means that your needle is a little bit clogged or your nozzle is clogged, and you need to remove the paint buildup on the tip of your needle. Because if you don't do that, it's going to give you a lot of splattering and stains, and that is terrible in a background. So we can see a beautiful covering of the background. I really like the red, and if I want to tone it down more, I can do so with transparent glazing layers in the final end. I just need to have my base, backgrounds first. We work from the back to the front and from soft to sharp. A little bit more down. And this is what we have so far. I'm just going to check all the edges. I can see that here. Well, that's the sketch line, so that is correct, but I'm going to move it a little bit more inwards so that this edge is a little softer and more out of focus, like we can see over here. So all you need to do is move it 1 mil down like this and just go up and down. Don't follow the lips, just go up and down and give it a second layer. This will create a beautiful out of focus effect. It will take away that sticker effect. We can also mark the bottom. Just don't lose the sketch, we still need it. So if you want, you can dilute the paint a little bit, and this will not be able to cover your lines. I can still see my lines, but if you feel that hard, that is too hard to do that, then you just do it with some water. So you can't go that fast. We're also going to give some of the color here, just to get rid of the white, but without losing the sketch. Again, you can dilute the paint a little bit. I just want to get rid of the white. Then we're not going to throw away the color, we're going to use it for the lips, but we have to adjust it. And we're starting with the shadows first, so we need to basically darken the color. What I'm going to do is I will throw back this color in the cup and reuse it. All I'm going to do is darken the color. You can darken it with a darker red, like Imi does alone brown. You can also darken it with a shadow black, a transparent black. A black is used to make shades, so any color mixed with black will become a shade. You can also use the opposite color. It's also going to tone down the color. It will make it more neutral, more grayish red. A black will not do that so much. And you can make it colder and darker by using ultramarine or phthalo green, which is also an opposite color. They are all options, and they will also come very close, all three of them. What I'm going to do is, let's see how far off we are. I'm going to take the Naftal Red Deep, which is a dark, deep red. Darken it some more. See how close I am. And then probably have to cool it down or shade it a little bit. Yeah, it's too intense and it's not dark enough. You might not be able to see that because you don't see that side of it. But I'm gonna just tone it down a little bit with my phthalo green. Remember, pepper and salt. Don't add the whole bottle in it. It's gonna kill your red and give you a sort of black-brown color. So I still want to see the red, just not so obvious. This looks like a beautiful shadow color, and I think it is great to start. So I'm going to use this color to create my shadows. If I want to adjust it further, I can always make it colder or warmer along the way. So if we're going to start working in the lips, we first need to make sure that we have the darkest parts in and around the lips. The very dark parts, however, are not the lips itself, but they are the mouth gap. So the first thing we need to do is create the mouth gap. The easiest way, because it's always sharp, these lines, the top of the bottom lip and the bottom of the upper lip, they are always sharp. So technically you can just take the same mask and cut out the mouth gap. Like I said, I can't find my blades because I just moved into a temporary setup, but I'm going to use my scissors to sort of give me the mouth gap. Scissors are less precise to cut these complicated shapes than blades, but it is doable. So if you don't have blades, just use your scissors and use your other hand that is not cutting to turn the paper around the scissors, so don't cut, just slide through the scissor blades by using your other hand and twist it. Just twist it. We go around the teeth. I'll take it from here so I don't work in my own shadow. You can save the parts because sometimes you also need to, for example, work on the teeth as they are white. You want to protect the black mouth gap. So I'm not going to throw away this little piece. I'm just going to stick it somewhere safe where I can find it back. I have a magnet board, so I can use some magnets to hold it safe in place, or you can put it in some sort of a bin, like not a trash bin, but like things where you can collect and store things in. How do you call that? A storage bin. I have some overspray on this paper, so I'm not sure if I'm even cutting the right line, but we will see. I still have my sketch to rely on, so that's fine. And also this part of the gap, I'm going to keep it somewhere safe, because teeth are a pain in your butt. Okay. Remember to save the little pieces of mouth gap. Now we can protect the lips and first bring in the darkest parts of the mouth. Remember not to touch the highlights, they are protected with liquid mask. Just gonna place it here. You can use a tiny piece of tape just to keep it in position. This way I can clean up my airbrush. It's not 100% black, it is a very dark red. It's a shading red, a shadow red. So I'm gonna keep the black inside, the red inside, which is very little. It's basically one drop, or not even one drop. It's like almost empty, but it's dirty. And with this, I'm just going to add a drop of black. I will use watercolor black, aqua drop, so it doesn't clog my needle that much, and I don't have problems later on while painting. I can't lose the time to clean my airbrush all the time during these demos, so I'm using watercolor paint, which is great. Just if you use mixed media, so you're going to use paint brushes and stuff like that, it's not ideal because you will take off the layer as it won't dry hard. It will just stay water soluble. So I'm mixing the red with my black, and that will give me this color, a shadow of red. And if you want it darker, just add more black. It's super close. I think it's pretty good. Can you see that? It's a little bit lighter, but that's fine. I can shade it a little bit more later on, or give it more layers. It's quite sharp, so I'm going to push it down. Make sure it's on the reference lines. Just check underneath. It's close enough. Like I said, with the scissor I'm less precise than with a blade, but I couldn't find the blade while I was moving towards this blade. And if you see a line that is I missed this line because I couldn't see where I had to cut. You can just take a little piece of paper and protect that line. So don't just spray because, you know, you want to spray there, but just take a little piece of paper, cover up that false line, and then go in with your paint. Something like that. There. Not 100%. Hang on. That's better. I will just use it for this edge and then I remove the paper. Again, there is no water in the paint as I need it dark. The paint is not very thick, so I could just use it pure. And you don't need to go 100% black. First of all, it's not black. And second of all, leave about 10-20% space for later to go darker. Oh, you see how wet it is? Just let it dry and go over it again. There, we just fill it up. That's it. I got my darkest darks, and that will help a lot. If you don't have these darks first, you don't really see what you're doing. So what I'm going to do now is I will dilute this a lot, throw out most of it, and then whatever is left, you keep it. So I'm just gonna empty it in this cup. See everything out. Fill it with water. Dilute it a lot, like 1:7. If you want to dilute it more, you have to add some medium to bind it. I use colorless from Holbein. Mix it. Test it. It should be really thin. You can reduce the pressure so you don't create spiders. Just reduce it a little bit. I'm using an external mag valve. All the stuff that I'm using, you can find it at foxystudio.com or at your local supplier. I'm going to soften these edges. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside the dark where it's safe. It's my safe zone. And use my left hand to support my right hand. Put the air on and then move. Don't wait for the paint to come out. Move and then wiggle the trigger while you're in the dark. You see? I'm just exaggerating now. There we go. And then you push the paint over the edge. With this, you can fill up the missing gaps from masks and soften edges that are too sharp. And you can blend things like that very, very easily. So I'm going to look for other edges, like this one here. Start, move, keep the air on, and then wiggle the trigger just to give a tiny amount of paint. Use your supportive hand to kind of straighten out your working hand. And also here you can pull in these softer lines by starting in the dark, look for your dark, and then just push it up. When these lines need to be sharper or thinner, you don't need to use a mask. It's better to use an eraser pencil or a glass fiber and just remove the excessive paint. So if you see that this tooth is a bit too straight, and here we can find that it's a bit rounder, the shape is a bit rounder, you just use an eraser pencil and you kind of hollow it out until you see the shape that you like or need. So don't use a mask for things that are not really super sharp. You can also use this to open highlights. I did not use liquid mask here because these are not very sharp, but I do want to see where they are. So from the start, I keep my highlights clean as possible. Then I'm going to see for other shadows that are quite dark. And if I can't find them, I'm going to go redder. So then I will use this mix. I will add it to the shadow color and start from dark towards light. I'm working quite transparent with a semi-opaque paint because we need the full color of the lip. What we also need to have the control of transparent paint, and we need to build up a lot of depth in the lip because it has cracks and details, etc. So quite transparent paint is required to do that, especially when you want to work freehand without a lot of scraping and a lot of erasing. We're going to do some, but only the minimum. Therefore, we can now start with a very thin shadow color. Maybe I need it even thinner because it's still too aggressive. I'm going to thin it a bit more with some water and medium. I will add a drop of colorless medium. That will help to decrease the opacity, but also I can thin it more now without the paint falling apart and separating from the binder. So mix it really good. Let's see what we have. It's very fine. I can even go finer, but I think that's okay for me. I can work with that. Also, you can make a little sample on your paper and see if you can find anything with this kind of shadow. If this is already too black, you know, add some red. We see some here underneath the lip. So I'm going to dive in underneath the lip, and if they're sharp, you can use a piece of paper. Just paper. You don't need a shield for this because it's quite organic. So to cut your own stencil, you first need a small piece of paper, okay? And then you let the scissor twist, or cut, I mean, and your other hand is twisting the paper. That's all. Easy. You always protect the light, so in this case that's the lip, and then you can push in over the edge of the paper and you can push in the shadow edges, just like that. Now only look for the shadows. Don't try to color things that are red because it's not red, it's a shadow color for the red. So we first determine the bottom of the lip. There we go. Try not to move over the liquid mask with your hand, with your papers. And if you do remove it, just put it back on. I did it to save some time before the live show. I already put on some of the liquid mask. I will show some there that I did not do yet, but I wanted to save some time during the live show. But normally you only do it at the moment where you need it. This way it's not in the way of your hand while working with masks or papers. I'm just looking for the sharp darks. Everything that's soft doesn't need the paper, so you see me jumping from left to right here and there. And I'm using the paper to bounce off a tiny amount of paint. This will separate the lights from the darks, and it will already create the first layer for the depth that we're looking for. I give the tiniest amount of paint. So the trick is, with realism, to give very little paint when you're working transparent. When you're working opaque, you kind of give a bit more paint, like with the background, for example. You need a nice coverage, and therefore it requires more paint. But if you're doing these little things, it needs almost no paint. It's almost like you're painting with water. Just give it some overspray, and with an eraser we take out the lights and we kind of sculpt in the shapes. This is all soft, but it's dark. I'll point out where I am. And we can just gently mark the shadows. This will help us like breadcrumbs, you know. It's like I can find my way when I have my darks. My darks and my lights, they are my stars in the dark, you know. They're my guidance. This way I know where to go. Just do it really gentle. This way it's much easier for you to erase and move within the shapes to create the shapes that we actually need. So just do it really, really gentle. I still see my sketch. And the minute you're lost, you start to erase. Okay, so I'm now doing my darks. The minute I don't see them, I'm just gonna take out my lights, and that will give me more reference points. And then with the color layer in the next round, that is way easier to find your way. So I'm going to take a soft rubber, which is the Koh-i-Noor eraser pencil, just to kind of make the initial sketches for the lights. And if you need sharp lights, you can take an electric eraser, but all these lights are quite soft, so I'm using a soft eraser. If you accidentally take out a light too little or too much, that's not a problem. You can always add or an extra light, or just put some paint back on if you took out the wrong light, or if it's too much. So don't worry, and you should always try to paint without fear, because if you're painting with fear, that's just what's keeping you from your end result. It's going to prevent you from finishing the painting. You will always leave it unfinished out of fear to ruin it. So that's something you should not have. You have to be fearless. And you can become fearless by practicing. The more you practice, the easier things are. And so you'll gain more confidence, and you'll be able to finish your paintings instead of putting them in the corner or in a frame and say, this is it, I do not dare to go any further. I actually hear it more than you realize, probably. A lot of people have fear to finish their paintings, and maybe you are one of them. So I'm trying to help you to take away some of that fear and be able to do way more than you thought you could do. I'm quite wild. My character is quite wild and bold, so that helps actually to just go with the flow. I'm removing some of these liquid mask. This eraser is very good to do that. You can do it with your fingers, but make sure there's no grease, no pizza, no food on your fingers, because that is going to ruin the surface for your airbrush. It's not going to hold anymore, the paint won't grip. So it's very important that your hands are clean when you're touching the surface. And if you're removing the liquid mask, it's safer to do it with something like this or a special tool for it. And for those that just jumped in, if you're interested in doing this exercise yourself, just go to my Patreon page and you will be able to find the free download for this exercise. It's quite funny. It will give you a lot of different techniques to practice. I think it's quite a cute image. Red is not an easy color to work with because it is a primary color. Everything you mix with red turns it into another color, even white. So that's why I chose this dominant color in this painting, red. If you have multiple reds, that's always easy if you're doing a lot of red subjects, like lips, cherries, nature. A lot of things in nature are red. Parrots, whatever, birds, cardinal birds, you know, they're all red or bright orange. And so it's always easier if you have multiple reds, not just one. You could work with one, but it's just harder as it's a primary color. You cannot mix red. You can just adjust the red. If you have magenta and yellow, you can make more reds than if you just have one red. You can create a variety of reds. So I got my shadows, I got my lights. It's very minimal, but it helps me to continue with the lips. I'm going to make my shadow color a bit redder by throwing out some of the shadow color. Just leave it a bit, not too much. Just enough to make the red slightly darker that I've mixed the second red, the adjusted red. I do not throw away colors, I just reuse it. As it's the same subject, it's just here is less light on the subject and here is more light, but it's the same color. It's just a color with more light or less light. And if you understand that, you can just use the mix, your base mix, and adjust it accordingly. So you can make it darker, lighter, grayer if it's in the shadow, you know, but use the same color. Now I should have a shadow red. Let's see. Quite close. Well, you can't see that, but maybe I can move it, and it's quite close to the color. It's just a little bit more saturated, but it's also drying. I can add a drop of sienna to it to make it a bit more orange and less cold. If you're going inside the lip, I add a drop of burnt sienna. That looks better. Yeah, this is a good color. Okay, just gonna press me on that. You can't see it, but this is a really nice shadow color for this side of the lip. If you're gonna do small things, it's small, the lip is small, you want to have water. Water is equal to control. So the more water you can add, the more control will give you to how much paint is coming out and how small you can paint. The distance also helps. If you go really short, don't touch the needle, but if you go really close, you have way more control over small things. Just don't give too much paint, because if the distance is very short, very small, and you give a lot of paint, it's going to splatter. So if you're creating spiders all the time, you are either too close to the board, you need more distance to keep it soft and spread it out, or your pressure is too high. It can also be a combination, or you simply give too much paint. So it's kind of try to play with these three and see where your sweet spot is in order to have the control that you're looking for. If you find yourself a little bit scary, you can protect the background. I'm going to leave it open for now, and I might protect it for this light edge, as I do not want to contaminate the light edge with the background. But here I kind of want to blend it in, so I'm going to leave it unprotected. I'm going to start with the darkest side of the lip, the shades, and I always look for something that is recognizable, such as this little water droplet. Now, first move, and then wiggle the trigger. Don't go too close yet, and wiggle the trigger. If the paint's not coming out, it means either the pressure is too low or the paint is too thick, okay? Don't pull the trigger at once. Just test it on a piece of paper. There you go. That's better. You want to build up the shadows darker than what you think you need, okay? Because the shadows, that's your hang on to. You hang on to the shadows. If you don't have the shadows, your lip is not gonna be able to build up. So go darker than what you think you need. Just don't do it at once. Build it up in layers, okay? There we go. And move in the direction of the lip texture, which is like the clock and a little bit rounded. If you see you accidentally pushing in some paint on a spot where you don't want it, you immediately erase it. Do not let the paint build up. If you do let the paint build up, it becomes much harder for you to erase it. I'm actually missing a piece of background there, but that color was easy to mix. They were just two colors and a bit of sienna, so I can always bring it back. Or maybe you've kept it a little bit aside and you can put it in later for the parts that you've forgotten. Try to look for shapes. So I'm looking for the shapes of the shadow. I'm not just putting in shadow of a lip, I'm looking for a shape. I see a manta shrimp or some little embryo shrimp right there, or croissant, whatever you want to call it. And then it just has some sort of a blurry head going all the way up. If it's blurry, do not go close, do not define it, just use your eraser to give definition. So I'm going to use my eraser. We'll use the soft one at first. Careful for the blue stuff. And just shape your light. Shape your light, and this way you will automatically have the shape for your dark. I'm working with positive and negative. You don't need to go sharp, you don't need to go into details. These are not details. This is just for me to determine where my dark shapes end and start, and my light shapes. And if you do it like that, you will build them up together simultaneously without even thinking. This can go, that's a strong highlight, that will be a reference point. Like I said, the super strong ones I'm not creating yet. I will do that later, and I will use an electric eraser for that. That's why I love to build it up with this soft eraser. The Koh-i-Noor eraser pencil is great for this kind of sculpting. The first initial layer. Then we build up some more. Let the paint dry. You just don't want to lose your sketch, okay? Whatever you do, don't lose your sketch. Okay. We can't finish this project at once, but it's a nice start, and there will be another episode in 4 weeks, so next month, but I'm going to do as much as I can today. That is my darkest, deepest shadow. It's not dark enough yet, so I'm going to give a little bit more, and then I'm going to thin the paint and give a little bit more of that base red into it. So I need less shadow and more base tone. That would be my naphtha red light in this case, to bring it back to base color. Just keep it slightly darker by leaving some of this dark shadow mix inside your airbrush. Never touch places that are not shadow with your shadow color. You're going to kill the intensity of the color, and you're going to kill the values of your painting. If this is really sharp, you can protect the tooth with a piece of paper, or you just cut out the tooth and push up a little bit of paint just to define the edge of the lip. In this case, you won't change the shape by accident. And also the bottom of the lip is always super dark anyway. It's dark, it's sharp, so this is the safest way to do so. I find there's still a lot of shadow here on the inside of the lip, so I'm going to use this color. Sorry, sorry for the noise. I'm going to use this color to create the whole shadow edge. And for those that just joined me live, welcome guys. I'm doing this red exercise full of gloss, reflection and drops. I'm going to do it in 2 sessions. The next session will be next month, so in 1 month from now. And you will find the continuation on my Patreon page. You will also find the downloadable reference on my Patreon page. They're all for free. And if you want to stay updated, you just have to subscribe. It's for free, or if you like, you can support me in order to create more lessons in the future with a little monthly pledge. And if you're already doing that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support. I'm going to create the contour of the droplet, just so I don't lose it. I don't want to mix it with my tooth, so I'm just shaping it a little bit with the shadow color of the lip. We can also see that this is the lighter side of the lip, so the shadow on this side cannot be as dark as the shadow on that side. We need to keep this side slightly lighter. If you do need to go darker, it means that this side is not dark enough, so sometimes you need to balance it and go back and forth a little bit. Always keep an eye on the other side where you've already been with the paint, so don't just automatically think, I've been there already, I do not need to go back. That is certainly not true. You always need to revisit areas you've been already. I'm just balancing the paint really gentle, and I'm leaving enough space for my eraser to create light shapes. This is the first time I'm giving a live that is not from my previous studio. My studio has been flooded, like many of you probably know that are following me. And so this is the first time I'm able to do a live show again, as I had no studio, no internet, no connection. I'm very happy that I'm able to be in contact again and teach. So you'll be seeing more very soon. I'm also working on new online classes, and if you're interested in my current online class, there is a link in this post, and if you like a discount, just email me and I'm able to squeeze you in probably for the waiting list discount. So I got my darkest and coldest shadows in. Before you throw it out, make sure you got everything you can in the light shapes. So if you accidentally remove too much, you can still blend it back with this color, just a little layer to kill the white. You don't want your shadows to have high contrast with the light. So sometimes if you're erasing light shapes, you sort of need to blend it again with a very, very thin layer of your shadow color. Like here, for example, I'm going a little bit too wide, but I have to, otherwise I cannot erase. So if you see that, you just push it back a little bit with that same shadow color. You don't do that with the next color, you do it with the same color, okay? This way you build up depth, you can go back and forth quite easily. It's not hard this way, but if you do it in another stage, that will become way more complicated. You can also sharpen edges or correct edges. If you want this edge up, you can just, look, you can just push it up, okay? Or if you want this down, you can push it down from the other side. So you can push and pull with your eraser as well. I rarely grab a piece of paper inside an organic shape, just for some edges to keep them sharp or to separate things from the start, to get started basically. And then I sort of drop the shields to prevent unnatural shapes, and honestly I don't really like shielding unless it's really needed. But it's also a personal thing. If you do love it and you're good with it, you can use it, of course. It's just another tool and another technique, and it's good to know all of them in case you need them. And here we see a tiny little bit of light reflection, a bouncing light. I'm just going to put it in there. It's very subtle, but it's there, and it also helps to create the right edge. Right now the layer is very thin, so it's quite easy for me to do so, and I'm going to do the same on this side. I will remove some of the overspray from the background, and that will create that beautiful textured highlight on the edge of this lip. Don't turn it into a strong white outline. Just try to keep an eye on the reference and stay true to it. It's an interrupted line, it's not one strong line, so just interrupt with your eraser pencil instead of making a harsh line. Also here you can kind of break up the shape, break up the edge. It's so blurry because of the droplets on top of the edge. We can do the same thing here, and this way we have the perfect outline for the lip. We can't go wrong anymore, okay? It's like you're building in some safe zones like that. Now let's see what we can do over here. I'm sure that we can find more light shapes inside all this overspray of my shadow color. So I'm basically using my shadow color with overspray in order to create the first shapes of the lights that are planted against my shadow shapes. They're all shapes with transitions. They can be hard, they can be intermediate, they can be soft, they can even be invisible. So I'm trying to look for everything I can do with just this tiny bit of overspray, and that is a lot. I can shape the whole lip, and that will be the foundation for the continuation of my lip that is built on top of all these tiny little bits and pieces. Okay, that's it, what I can do for now. There's a bit of shadow here as well, but it's warmer. This part is warmer, so my shadow color is too cold to do that. Sometimes you can see, like here, I can go a little bit further, but then I will have to add some more water in order to not overshoot. I need to go closer, so it requires more water and more precision. Use your other hand to support, and make sure you're not giving too much, you're not exaggerating. Just go close, wiggle, and see where the paint's coming out. I have to reduce the pressure a bit because it's spidering. And whatever you do, move in the direction of the textures of the lip. It will always look good this way. Even if you screw up, it will still look good. Trust me. This here needs to be really dark, even darker than the color in my airbrush, so I can go 100% with this color. Push and push and push, let it dry and come back. Push, push, let it dry and come back. You can also correct little highlights that are too big, too light, too soft, whatever you can find with this color. You put it in right now. Don't be impatient. And I always say that this is 80% of your work. If you got the shadows in, then half of the work is done. If you don't put your shadow shapes in, and the first initial shapes for the light with the eraser, it's going to be a lot harder to find them or to make corrections along the way. You're going to struggle. You're going to struggle with color, you're going to struggle with shapes, with textures, everything basically. So don't rush. Put all your effort and energy in this first construction. It is like building a house. You need your foundation first. This is my foundation. And if you screw up, you can just remove it, as it's just one color. You can remove it even with your fingers like I just did. You can use an eraser, you can wash it off with water and soap. It will go away. So don't grab other colors too soon. There's a bit of a dark edge on top of this lip. I need to stay silent to do those small things. Because when I talk, my shoulders go up and down a little bit. That's why it's also important to use your belly breathing. Not too much with the shoulders. This way you don't go up and down, up and down. But the reason why I'm able to talk and spray is because I try to use my belly breathing all the time. I keep building up the dark here as I was way too light. And if you see that your color is too strong or too saturated, you just have to add a tiny bit of black or come back in later with a transparent black to further darken it down. That is not a problem. But push it as far as you can. Then we check this side, which is lighter but still darker than what I have. And I can also use it to control some cracks here and there between the lights, the lip cracks, or to further darken the bottom. And sometimes you will find radiosity of the lip color on the inside of your teeth. In this case, it's not really red. There's some here, but it's a warmer red. It's not this shadow color red. But sometimes you need to just mist over some of the color of your lips also on your teeth. Teeth are not white. far from white actually in this case. So don't worry for overspray, you don't really have to clean it unless you're losing a shade. But if you do this, now I'm doing it on purpose, that's absolutely fine. Even if it's the wrong color, it's fine. So don't worry. Also here, go with the direction of the textures. Just push it into that shrimp or croissant-like texture and try to look for shapes. We'll be doing 15 more minutes and then that would be the first session. Okay, I think I have enough of this shadow. I can push it a little bit here, but very gently. Just in the center of the lid, underneath the highlights. But very little as an undertone for my somewhat more intense red. And clean your airbrush. I'm going to throw it back in the cup. Clean out the paint. You can rinse it with water. And I'm going to get back to my initial color, which was the Naphtha Red Light, together with a tiny bit of Naphtha Red Deep. That would be 4 and 1. And you can adjust accordingly, and if you see it needs to be a bit more orange, you can also add some sienna. If it's too red, add some green, phthalo green. This time we add some water as we are working inside of the lips. And I'm going to test the color a little bit. Doesn't have to be a match, but you want to come close. It's a bit too thin. There's water in it, so I need a bit more orange, so I'm going to add some burnt sienna to it. Just 2 drops will do. And let's see what we've got. Remember not to grab too many different colors. They are the same colors, just in different ratios. If you see it needs to be warmer, you add more orange, which is the burnt sienna. If you see it needs to be colder, you can add the Naphtha Red Deep or crimson, but we didn't use crimson. And if you see it needs to be darker, you add the black or the green. This is perfect. Alright, okay guys, here we go. I'm going to start in the dark, okay, in the shadow side, and fill up the lighter areas. This is very thin, very gentle. Be careful for the background. You basically mist over. Add some water. We just mist over, okay? Get rid of the white. That's what we're doing. We're going to get rid of the white. The first thing we're going to do is peel off the liquid mask. Give it a little bit more. I'm going to go like 70–60% around the liquid mask, so it's not too weak. I'm going to leave it a bit more open here in the center where it's lighter, where we can see a lot of textures. But just around that liquid mask, I'm going to go a little bit stronger so that I can peel it away and adjust it with an electric eraser. Don't worry for the teeth. If you are worried, you can protect them, but I'm not worried. I'm just going to go over it. I also don't worry about the background, but you can protect everything you want, okay? Then we're going to get rid of this white. White is super annoying. I always want to get rid of the white as soon as possible, but without rushing. Because white, it kind of gets rid of our true vision. We can't really see the actual color when there's a lot of white. Okay, we leave everything too light. Because whatever we put on, it looks too dark when there's a lot of white involved. And that's why I'm making it my priority to get rid of the white, but very controlled, in a very controlled way. I still need to be able to erase, to adjust, etc. Just trying to push it a little bit further on the bottom lip, as there's not much texture apart from the highlights. But where you see a lot of texture, you can see that I'm staying slightly lighter. The corners are darker and they have less texture, so I'm just going to push it some more on the corners and even on the bottom. Protect your teeth if you want. You can also use your pinky. It always fits there. here's less texture too, so I'm just going to push it some more. Blend it with the shadows. Do not skip the shadows, it's the same color. The shadows need to be darker anyway, as I left them slightly lighter, as you know. So, okay, this is our first attempt to get rid of the white, okay? Now I'm going to peel off with very clean hands, or you can use the soft eraser, which is more safe. Just clean it too with some paper or jeans. Oh, I forgot to apply this, but we'll use an electric eraser. I wanted to show you how I apply it, but just use a tiny brush and then clean the brush. Now I'm just going to rub off the liquid mask, and we will have instant highlights. We do need to refine these highlights, and that is where the fun comes in. So to do this, you need a clean eraser, clean fingers, you need liquid mask, and then whatever comes out too heavily, we're going to adjust. We're going to adjust it with a thin paint, the same color, but very, very thin. Don't leave on the liquid mask much longer than this, as it will be hard to sort of blend in these highlights. They will look unnaturally, and the paint will build up very heavily around the edges. Then it becomes harder for you to kind of blend in those edges and make it look more organic. Now, make sure you got all of those little things. They dry up a bit grayish because of that blue color in the liquid mask. But if you're using a transparent liquid mask, you sort of need to feel with a very clean finger, but my fingers are not clean anymore, so I can't really do that. You can also wear gloves, clean gloves, cotton gloves, and try to peel it off with that. Or you can feel with the side of your hand palm. That's usually clean as well. Not always, but you know, you can feel the mask. So if you feel it, you can peel it. Just don't press. It will go off quite easily, because if you press, you're creating new highlights, but unwanted highlights. Okay, so now we have our base. We have the base for our lip. Before we continue painting, I'm first going to take out the how you call them, the folds of the lip. Find something that you can easily recognize, like this here is the edge of the highlight. They do need to be connected and refined, but it's not important right now. What is important for me right now is to have these little gaps here, this mouth, or it's not a gap, it's these little thicker parts of the lip. Don't really remember the English word, sorry. The folds. Very soft, okay? I'm not pushing, and if you want it lighter, you repeat until it's light enough. You don't push with an eraser, because if you push, especially on canvas, and this is clayboard, so it's quite easy, but on canvas, you're going to push the pigments inside the fibers of the canvas, and it's not going to come out. It's just going to stay dirty, and the paint is not moving. It's going to stay where it is. You're unable to reach for it. It's like hiding from you, and you've just chased it away into a safe corner for the paint to hide and never come out again. So don't push, just repeat until you see it's light enough. That is the trick when erasing. I erase with a soft pressure, a gentle pressure, and that is sufficient. And sometimes you need to be patient and repeat the amount of, erasing. Now let's see inside the shape if I can create more shapes. Yes, I can. And don't panic if you're missing some, you can always come back, don't worry. But the more you can do now, the easier it is along the way. And the minute you don't see where to erase anymore, you go back with the paint. But we have to adjust the paint a little bit. Each time you go back with paint, you need to check if you need to adjust it. Okay? So if the stage of highlighting at this moment is done, I need to check if I've got everything done with an eraser, and then if I can still use the same paint, or should I adjust my paint accordingly? Should it be darker, lighter, thinner? These kind of things. But try to make the steps very small. Don't jump from one color to another if you're working in the same subject. That's why I'm adjusting my color making it darker or thinner or brighter, more intense or less intense, but always using the same base color. This way, whatever you do, it will always look good. So we got a really nice base quite quickly, using just 2 base tones and a background color. Oh, it's wobbly. And right now I'm just going to use an electric eraser. I love the Medea electric eraser. I got 2. I got a very sharp one, and I got so this is the Medea that I love. It's USB chargeable with a cable. It's got tiny erasers and big ones, and they're really soft but yet sharp. And then there is also, I have the just have to find it, sorry. Here it is. Tihu, which is also very small, but the pressure for the button is a little bit harder. You have to press and it goes on batteries, but it's good too, you know. It's a bit more basic, but it's half the price. So if you're on a budget, go for the Tihu, and if not, go for the Medea. If you need the tip larger, just pull it out and push it to the edge. If it's too short, you have to refill. Okay. If you need a very sharp tip, you can use sandpaper or something like a sand pad. Go back and forward, and you'll have a beautiful little tip. Start in the corner where you recognize something and use your index finger to point out where your eyes have to follow the information. Now let's see if I can just, oh, look at that, there we go. So I'm just going to start here, and I'll point out where my eyes are looking. Oh, normally I'm wearing glasses. If you don't believe me, I'm practically blind. These are my glasses. I don't wear them initially until the point where I'm either very tired or like half blind and I have to wear them. But not seeing many things right now helps me. So that means I'm not working on details. I'm just working on the main shapes, okay? I can see light, I can see dark, and I can see the shape. That's all I need to see right now. So my trick is not to wear my glasses until I have to. These things are a bit more like details, so sometimes I do wear glasses for this, but I'm still trying not to, as it's not the end. Soften up the edge. Just keep contact and move. You can enlarge. You can add extras. This tip is a bit too short. I'm just gonna refill. This is a box of refills. This is just a box that you can buy with refills of big and small ones. I love them, but of course a few of them come with the eraser when you buy it. There. Let's sharpen that. A little tip. This is also great if you're working with graphite, by the way, or watercolor. But yeah, with watercolor you have to be careful with erasing, but if you're working with gouache and on acoustic panel or like it's called acoustic board, you can use this as well. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as this, as long as your main shape of the light is good, and as long as you don't shift the light. So you're not going to place this here because it's going to change the shape of the lip. So whatever you do inside this light ray and inside this, it is good. You can have more or less lights, that's absolutely fine. Just don't lose the placement of the light, and use edges as your reference point to make sure they stop and start at the right moment. And there's also a rule, less is more. Sometimes less details make it more realistic and less chaotic. Don't try to put everything you see inside. Try to do less. Just the minimum that is required to be convincing. This one. Here I didn't have any reference points, so I'm just using the distance there and there and there in order to place them right. If you find that really complicated, you can take white graphite paper, place the reference on top of your painting if it's one-on-one, or trace it with transparent paper, trace it, put it on, and then use the white graphite paper to press the location of the lights, and then you can open them. If you make them too harsh, don't worry, because we still need to paint, right? This is just the first layer, and we're not even close yet, but it's starting to look like lips, which is fun, but we still have some work to do. The beginning is always more work. As soon as you've got your start, things become a lot easier and things go a lot faster. So you have to put your focus on this stage. Make sure that this is good, solid. If all this information confuses you, you can also use a white piece of paper, cut out an isolation window, isolate the part that confuses you, and this way you will see much less information. And that will make it easier for you to put it in the right place. I'm just using my left index finger, and that is enough for my eyes to focus on the right spot. I'm going to go organic and push it over the edges of the liquid mask to make it a bit softer, blend in more. And if you don't want that, leave it sharp, that's fine too. But these are a little bit more blurry, so I'm going to soften up the edge. The great thing of this eraser is that it goes with a USB charge. Don't have to worry for batteries running empty. That's what I had in the past when working with electric erasers. They always run empty. While I was working, I'm like, oh, okay. But this is great. On clayboard you can also use glass fiber pen, but it's less white. It is more like yellowish when you use it. I will use it in the next lesson. My next lesson, for those that just watched and joined me in this live lesson, welcome. My next lesson will be in 1 month from now on, and you will find the announcement on my Patreon page. You can register for free, and then you'll automatically be updated whenever I have a free webinar or a live show. If you love to learn from me online, I have several courses online. The Airbrush Online School, where I have multiple languages subtitled, or you can go to the Marissa Oosterlee Academy with my latest course, and that is only in English. Registrations are closing soon. There is a link in this post if you're interested, or you can just drop me a mail to info@marissaoosterlee.com, basically my name and info in front of my name. So if you're interested, just let me know, and I'm going to be happy to help you out with all your questions. If you love to do this exercise yourself, just go to my Patreon page, where I am uploading the reference as soon as I'm done today. Okay, my friends, you can do all the highlights you see, okay? I'm gonna stop for today. And oh, before I stop, I have to use this paint. I don't want to throw it away. I'm just gonna dilute it, so stay with me for 5 more minutes if you can. And I'm going to work around these highlights and blend in everything we've done with a somewhat thinner version of that previous color. So it's the same color, just thinner. Just gonna blend it in a little bit. And then we're gonna call this session done for today. And I will be continuing next month. I'm having a little break for 1 month. I won't be online much. And I'm working on several of my own projects, which require a lot of focus. But I'm always happy to help answering questions. If you want to know something about my courses or the next webinar, just let me know. There might be some delay, but I'll make sure I find all your questions. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, just type my name, and Patreon. Many of those social media pages will publish the events where I am. I'm also coming to Hamburg in May, in Germany, at the International Airbrush Days. So if you're interested, just look at internationalairbrushday's.com. There are 6 instructors and I'm one of them. It's 3 days of fun, full of experts, and each expert is showing their specialism. So that's pretty cool. You can learn a lot. And also I'm going to show my paint set that I have been doing with Schminke, together with Schminke. So I'll be introducing my paint set. Okay guys, this is my base color. The base color and the base shadow are done. We also have some sort of a background. We have our initial shapes, lights and darks. They are separated, and we have some of the highlights. We know how to clean them, so if they're dirty, you can go in and clean them once again. The more you do that, the better it's gonna look. And if you're gonna paint like later and you don't want to throw away the color, you can store it in the fridge. It will stay a bit longer fresh, all right? Just put a lid on it and store it in the fridge. Okay, my friends, thank you so much for joining me here live on YouTube, and I hope to see you next month in the next session. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook if you like. And like I said, if you have any questions, just drop them somewhere. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye guys, thanks for watching.